Stellaris Aquatics and the Herbert Patch notes. We're going to go through everything. First I give you an overview over everything, and then at the end we'll go into this big thing. But that's at the end, so you can skip it if you want to skip all the details. So what's it about? It's about launching the Aquatics Species Pack that has a couple of portraits, a couple of ships, a couple of general changes, an origin, and so on. So let's go and look at the Herbert update first. So you get the Pompous Purist Civic. That's for humanoids. It's basically for xenophobe humanoids. So you cannot receive diplomatic proposals, but you may propose diplomatic actions. Like it's highbrow diplomacy, like thinking about like highbrow elves that don't want to have anything to do with the others, but dictate how they should behave. Then there's new terraforming events, added random terraforming events, more flavor to terraforming, more to explore new anomalies for gas giant, asteroid, uninhabitable anomaly categories, new options to existing anomalies, AI improvements. There are big AI improvements planned, better at picking buildings, AI will build Ecumenopolis, better planet killer weapons, and they will in general perform just a lot better. And the performance was also improved with a certain tool that one of them developed in a hobby state, and then now it gets used. Then there's a lot of bug fixes. Of course, everyone loves bug fixes. Upgrading defense platforms now only gives a notification when the last upgrade is complete. Fleet manager fixes. Fixed UI mod desyncs. Yeah, fix the desyncs. That's the multiplayer chant. Over 80 plus bug fixes in total. That's always very, very good. Then there's a new ship browser for all players. I'll show you some things of that from the feature stream, where they've used that to show the ship models of Aquatics. Also includes balance changes, improvements for modding, performance, fleet reinforcements, and more. And here we'll have a short look at all of these creatures. As you can see, the first one is like a jellyfish, and this one looks like a murderous fish, a crab man thing, and like that's the cute choice here. Of course, everyone likes the cute choice, right? The cute choice. Is that ears? Is that fins? You don't know what function this has. But it looks kind of friendly. It looks like it's one of these pet dogs. Then the dolphin man. They call it Hobby Cthulhu here because it's just a Cthulhu, but only has very small tentacles. Then we have the creepy coral is coming here. And they call that the Regal Dad. And this one I really like very much. They call it the Sad Prince. And they're demonstrating their, if you change colors, and the colors have a really big influence on these, as you can see. So it's not like only small things changing. It's about really big changes with the colors that you choose. And that's just beautiful. A creepy creature of the deep. And that's kind of an anglerfish innkeeper, something like that will eat you instead of serving you food. That's very tentacly and kind of octopus-like. And we have Slime Boy. I always imagined something like that for the Shoggoths of Lovecraft. That's just regal too. I mean, already the purple color. And this is just, it looks like a little bit more friendly somehow. It's nice. It's just nice. So what went into these portraits and art? We have the narrative from the deep seas to a lot of concepts, as you can see here. We've already seen the portraits now, and we know what led to them. That is Glorious Tentacle one. This is how the robot will look like, and we have it in colors as well. And it will look beautiful as well, like a drop. Like the head is like a drop of water that is mesmerizing, that art. So here we have it in game. And of course there's some animations and how they will be in their moving avatars. Just very regal looks. There's some more about the 2D art for the fascinating dragon, and pictures like these for the events just have a lot of emotion in that. They're just beautiful like that. So here are some of the ship models in live, as you can see here. Looking very nice. Then you have the menus with Cytherean Bliss and more ships. Construction ship looking very nice underwater optics, colony ship, science ship, citadel. Looks beautiful. Then we have, okay, we have some of the new flags. That's maybe not that interesting, but here we go with more ship appearance and how it looks when you change the colorings. And that makes a big difference for me. It's really, these details are just beautiful. And we'll have a short review of the art of the aquatic ships. As you can see, that ship will be in the game. We've seen that already. This one as well. That is the Colossus, and that one is a space station that we'll have in there. It just looks beautiful how they've constructed all of this. And these were the inspirations, of course, living creatures from the seas, some concept art, and it all led into the one or another ship design that we're getting into, looking like a crocodile head or something like that. Here as well, like a fish, like a small ground fish. Then the textures looking shiny. Different setups if you choose different weapon setups that you can see on the ships themselves if you zoom in. Different kinds of stations. I don't know if these will be in the game, but this we've already seen. And this weapon is, of course, also very nice. And it will be animated. As you can see, that's the tentacle animation. More of the space stations and even the details. And this is one of the mining stations that will be in the game. Also looks quite nicely. Another realistic model and more ships. This is battleships, as you can see here. And they're different forms depending on the loadout. That's the Juggernaut concept. We don't know if it will exactly look like that, but that's the concept for the Juggernaut. And that's the cruiser ships. And how they look. And this is the concept art for the Dragon. That, of course, looks fantastic. And how the Dragon came to be. And this is how majestic it will look now in-game. Let's go for a short recap of the changes in further detail. So we have the Pompous Purists, as you can see here. Diplomatic playstyle, but for Xenophobe. And that was what we've already seen. So they get Trust Growth plus 30% and 2 more Envoys. And they can be Xenophobe, not Purifiers or Inward Perfection or Science, but they can be Xenophobes and have diplomacy bonuses. Then there's a ship browser, as you can already see here, just looking very nicely. So you can look in advance if you like the ship set that you choose or not, because the ship sets to choose are, of course, totally free. So there's that. Then you have an anomaly variety that is coming with some new events and new event chains, especially connected to terraforming, which will get events. So you don't just click a button and wait 10 in-game years and then the terraforming is done. No, it will have events and you have choices, you have positive, you have negative events. It's all going to be a little bit more exciting. Other features we'll look at my affiliate site, because you can clearly see that the release is on the 22nd here. And it will be available in these languages: German, English, French, Spanish, Polish, Portuguese. And there's quite a number of screenshots already. You can see they're looking beautiful. This is the Colossus with the Colossus weapon, the special deluge weapon. That is the platform and so on. Evolved Aquatics. That's the intro screen. And there's the announcement trailer. But let's go at the price. The price is not yet here. Usually get at my affiliate 5 to 10% you get very often as a discount. I'll make a link, so in case you want to support the channel, there's a link below in the description. But now let's go. The description here. All new origins. Here be dragons. Ancient mythical beasts stalks your homeworld. A deep sage blue scales dragon is orbiting your humble kingdom. That's going to be very interesting, and I think I'm going to go for a let's play featuring the dragon. And then we have the Ocean Paradise. It's basically Gaia world in ocean these peaceful civilizations lead a peaceful life in a bountiful government with no unnatural enemies as well. So it's a little bit better than the Gaia things at the start. And it's just in general very, very good ocean paradise. And then there's a new trait, aquatic. When species evolve to thrive on ocean worlds, they're stereotypical fish out of water on others. It gives you advantages on ocean worlds and gives you disadvantages on non-wet worlds. And a new civic, that's a very good civic. Anglers, bounties of the sea, fresh seafood and rare pearls. So you'll get extra consumer goods and extra trade value in addition to good agriculture, to good food. Very nice. We'll go into the details later. And the new ascension perk, hydrocentric. If it carries something heavy underwater, it's easier. So there's something crazy to terraform planets into ocean worlds by using ice asteroids. It's fascinating. We'll look into that. And of course there's 15 new Aquatics Portraits and a new ship set, a new Aquatics Dragon, a new Advisor. No music yet. That's the only thing that I a little bit miss. Some bubbly music. But let's have a look at the trailer right now.
Life can wash over the most barren places.
The announcement trailer. I have to talk a little bit over it for copyright reasons. So, there's one of the weapons. That's the Deluge weapon. That you'll get it as a Colossus weapon if you choose the hydrocentric ascension perk.
As the tides ebb and flow, so can life.
Bubbly and fantastic. These beautiful looking ships. I've never seen better ships.
To look deeper.
Looking deeper. Rise from the depths. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do together. And you see, that's already 3 of the most prominent portraits. The dolphins, this strange monster, and the tentacle one. There's more basics here. On the Paradox Store. Paradox Store is always informative about, here you can see main features. All new origins, that's the dragon in action. And that dragon will want things from you and also will defend you from invaders. So it can be a boon or it can be a threat a little bit. Then we have some cosmetics, as you can see, that's the Deluge weapon, looking very nicely. And important for many people, supports Windows, Mac, Linux. Let's have a short look about what system requirements it has. Minimum are more important. So, an i3 530 or AMD FX 6350 and 4 GB of RAM. So that's the minimum, and Windows 7. So that's pretty tolerant, I'd say. That's pretty good. Graphics card, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 460 or AMD ATI Radeon HD 5870 with 1 GB VRAM. Or even Intel HD graphics from starting at 4600 or AMD Radeon RX Vega 11. And of course graphics drivers. DirectX 9 hard drive 10 GB, 3-button mouse, keyboard, speakers. If you want music anyways. And internet connection or LAN for multiplayer. I think that's pretty nice. And even the recommended ones are not that high. Even my like 8-year-old PC that I still have as a working PC will fulfill that. Pretty good. Graphics card 1 GB VRAM, RAM 4 GB, and so on. Let's see how it is with Mac. With Mac you have slightly higher system requirements. So 8 GB RAM, a better processor starting from i5 4570. That's already a pretty respectable processor. And the graphics card GeForce GT 750 or AMD card with 1 GB VRAM, but recommended is 4 GB. Also 10 GB of hard drive and so on. The 3-button mouse on the Apple. And supports Linux. Also Ubuntu 16.04 x64 at least. And it has the same, I think, the same recommendations and minimum as Windows, but it needs more on the hard drive. It needs 12 GB. So that's the only difference. I think these system requirements are still pretty good, so you can play it a little bit downscaled in graphics and stuff on a pretty old rig still, which is something very good. I like that they keep this down compatibility. No, not everyone has like a 1 or 2 year old PC at home, so kudos to that. It's PG7. And it will release on Paradox Store and on Steam. So it's not yet on good old Game, but I believe it will be there. It's always been there too. So now let's dive deep into the patch notes. The holy reading of the patch notes may begin, my friends. Aquatics Species Pack features. Have you got your hands folded? Are you ready? Added a new aquatic pre-scripted empire. Yeah, I've been waiting for that. Yes. And these things, they give me flavor. That's the flavor, and it's easily done, and it's just a good thing. Maybe there's events with that. I want some starting events with that, but okay. Added a new phenotype with 60 new portraits, of course aquatic, 50 normal, and 1 robot of fishy-looking aquatics. Added a new city set and room backdrop for aquatics. Added a new bubbly ship set. Added a new advisor voice. A new civic, the Angler Civic. Told you already about that. It's on Wet Worlds. You get a farmer. The farmer job is basically the angler job and a pearl diver job now, where you get 8 food from the angler and 2 trade value, and you get 3 consumer goods, and I think also 2 trade value from the pearl diver. So that's pretty useful to get started. It's super powerful. Added a new species trait aquatic. The aquatic species trait is very good. You can also pick it if you not have one of the aquatics species pack creatures. And yeah, so it gives you big advantages on ocean worlds. It treats normal wet worlds normally, and it gives you disadvantages on non-wet worlds. And they can be amplified by an origin, by hydrocentric. So that's pretty interesting. That thing. And I don't know which tier hydrocentric is. If it's an early tier, you might see speed builds to hydrocentric to get that full boost out of it. And 2 new origins. Ocean Paradise is where you start off on a basically Gaia-like ocean planet, but you don't lose like the normal habitability for planets. You still have wet habitability. And here be dragons. Ocean Paradise is pretty good, but you will lose your habitable worlds bonus. Then Humanoid Species Pack gets another thing, and that is the Civic Pompous Purists, which gives you 30% trust growth and 2 additional envoys, and you have to be xenophobe for that. So that's kind of a highbrow diplomacy that you can make then. You can participate in diplomacy much better as a xenophobe, which is pretty good. It opens up the way to play the game pretty nicely, like with hegemony federations and something like that, making them much more likely. Then the Herbert features. Multiplayer hosts that own the DLCs now unlock portraits as well as ship and background sets from the Plantoids and Humanoid species packs for clients that do not own them. Nice. So the host unlocks the rest. So it's cool. Added the ability to pick your main species gender during game setup. Nice! Yeah. So you can have traditional woke species. I'm sorry. No, I mean I've been waiting for this because it's everywhere, and it's even more in nature. Like there's not only like 3, 4, 5 different genders in nature. There's a couple more. There's a couple more in worms and all kinds of creatures that are pretty mesmerizing if you really go deep into that issue. It's not, of course, the majority of species are like usually male, female, or asexual, but there's still really a lot of them with all kinds of gender surprises, I would call them. Added over 200 new star names for random galaxy generation. Nice. And 13 random events for to terraforming to make the feature more engaging. That's nice. I love to get something besides like click button and get new planet. Added 4 new asteroid related anomalies to spice up old anomaly categories, and 4 gas giant anomalies, and 4 anomalies to existing uninhabitable worlds anomaly categories. And added new options to several old anomaly events which share categories with the newly added ones above. And enabled the ship browser for all players, which means you can look at all the ships of your not your species, of your empire in advance. Like, so you can choose a ship set not only from one picture, but from all the pictures that you'll ever see there. Improvements. Then you have reinforcement fleets will now attempt to find a safe but longer path if the shortest path to the target fleet is not considered safe. Yeah. I mean, the reinforcements. Yeah, it's good that they improve this. There's always these, like, why are my fleets so tiny? And then you have like 10 battleships distributed somewhere in ones. This will reduce how often reinforcement fleets are spawned at the shipyard at the cost of increasing the missing in action time due to taking a longer path in these cases. That's nice. Reinforcement fleets now consider systems that have both hostiles and allies in them to be safe for pathfinding purposes. Okay. I'm not sure. I'd like to select what they consider safe. Reinforcing fleets using jump drives no longer require a safe hyperlane path to the fleet they are reinforcing. But it's good, I mean, because reinforcement fleets now, if you have a battle and then reinforcements come in, and if you have that battle, usually the reinforcements plop out somewhere and stay there. But now if you have a battle, these reinforcements will come into the battle, which is pretty good. Instead of getting lost somewhere and you have a smaller fleet. Improved how shipyards are selected when constructing reinforcements to better utilize stations with multiple shipyards and mega shipyards. Nice. Reinforcing fleets that fail to find a safe path to the target fleet will now merge with other fleets orbiting the same shipyard if both fleets intended to reinforce the same target fleet. Oh, thank God. Thank God. That's so good. Plantoids and fungoids are no longer forced to have no gender. You can now freely pick species genders, which is realistic. I mean, trees have all kinds of genders. Instead, every randomly generated species now has a 30% chance of being one of genderless, female only, or male only. Whew, crazy. Added an additional option to the alien box event chain for gestalts. Nice. Added an... for the alien box. I've had that so often, and it's such a cool event. Added an industrial colony designation to Ecumenopolis. Nice. Made it so colony events will not fire on newly terraformed worlds to avoid some ludonarrative dissonance. Okay. The default flag of new empires is now randomized. Say goodbye to the red-black triangle flag. Yes, the best improvement of them all. Improvements. And then we come to balance. Balance is not necessarily an improvement, but it can be. At least for multiplayer. Functional architecture and constructor board reduced free building slots from 2 to 1. Agrarian idle empires now get 1 planet building slot per 4 agricultural districts built. Wow, that's a pretty big buff. And I love agrarian idle already, so might play something like that, I don't know. Reduce the ship upkeep cost modifier for clone army admirals variants to 5, 10, 20% respectively. Ruins of Shalosh Arcsite no longer has a chance of giving quite as much unity as defeating an endgame crisis. You can no longer use planet killer weapons on primitives inside your borders if you lack the appropriate primitive interference policies. Yeah, that makes sense. Pops working the livestock job now have 10% less political power. Do they have political power if they're livestock? Treated like that? A lot of anomalies were rewarding 3 society research deposits. There's now more variety though. Make awakened fallen empires use traditions. Will buff them is good. They need above. Several productivity improving technologies are now no longer of dubious benefit, as their upkeep and production effects now only apply to jobs actually primarily producing resources. Nerve-stable hive mind pops can no longer perform complex drone jobs, as makes sense. Reduce the amount of jobs added by leisure archaeology districts to bring them into line with other Ecumenopolis districts. Good. And we have ion cannons. They are no longer free to maintain, have an upkeep cost of 8 energy. It just makes sense. Necrohives. Cut necrophage pop assembly penalty from 50 to 50 from 75%. It's good, it's good. Made the pop output modifiers, positive and negative, no longer apply to hive minds. Made the minus 50% organic upkeep also apply to energy for photosynthesis. Yes, fixing a thing at a time. Devouring swarm necrophages now spawn with extra infrastructure to account for the lack of chambers of elevation. Good. Life seeded now start with a 30 space planet. Same as the ocean origin. What? Then we have stability and performance. That's one of my favorite sections. It's so good when the pain goes away. Fix an out of sync caused by using button effects in custom mod UI, so you can now go back to building that Nickel Dyson beam to ensure galactic peace and prosperity. Improve the performance of pop factions, updating their support values. Resolved an issue where the game looped over every pop in the Empire for each faction rather than calculating it once for the whole Empire and referring to that value for each faction. Improve the performance of Planet Resource Compare trigger and cut down on its use a bit, as it's still quite expensive. Good. Improve the performance of a variety of checks by making more extensive use of species happiness caching. Cache calculations of pop as random ethics to reduce performance impact of repeatedly checking it by 50%. Optimized rising unemployment events triggers to be only 15% as costly. Good, good, good. The game will no longer try and fail to run Grey Goo event True Masters on every planet every day. Nice. Optimized checks for whether a pop can belong to a certain faction by pre-filtering pops by ethics in code, rather than running the script checks on all the pops. Nice. For modders, this means that a faction will only allow pops which match its guiding ethic in it, unless use guiding ethic as pop filter is specified. Saving the performance. Optimize several expensive pop faction demands that were checking all pops instead of all species and similar. Improve the efficiency of checking whether a pop faction should exist. Optimized checks for jobs possible triggers so that the foremost current triggers are now pre-calculated per pop rather repeatedly for each job that a pop can take. So it saves performance here. Again, the format looks a little bit different now with possible pre-calc, so modders will need to update a bit here. Error log will warn you in most cases, except that you will also need to add a check when you use complex specialist job check trigger. Then we come to UI. UI, I love the UI. UI is the main thing of a game for me that can break a game is the UI. So if the UI works well, it can be a dumb game and even be enjoyable for a while. But if the UI is bad, so make the UI better. Music player controls bar now starts hidden and can be extended by clicking the music icon. Title of the music player is now localized. Pop strata icons no longer overlap in living standards tooltips. Nice. Tab key in console now also lists commands containing entered text. Many in-game UIs updated to scale vertically with increased game resolutions. Nice. Oh, so nice. Disable delete and update template buttons when editing a space species template. All languages now list the main menu hotkeys, N for new game, etc. Added a description to how migration works to the transit hub starbase. That's nice, because migration is always the big mystery. AI improvements, the soul of the game. Improve the AI algorithm for picking which building and district to build by fixing an issue that would not handle buildings or districts which produced multiple resources very well. Well, the soul of the single player game at least. Improve the AI logic for building starbase modules and buildings. Will no longer spam crew quarters everywhere. Oh yes, and will instead be better at building useful things like resource-producing buildings and Titan assembly yards. On starbases, AI can now build ice mining stations if it's hydrocentric. On starbases, AI can now build dragon hatcheries if it got the tech. Dragon hatcheries, wait. On starbases, AI is building less crew quarters in general and in places where it doesn't make sense. On starbases, AI is building a lot more anchorages. On starbases, AI is also building a bit more solar arrays if it's a gestalt. On starbases, AI is also building hydroponics now, since that has been buffed a lot and is way more useful to the economy. On starbases, AI will now handle starbases after taking over from a player, but it will not build lots of defense modules everywhere and tank the economy that way. Yay! Made AI empires more careful about running out of food. Makes sense. Rogue Servitors AI and player default is now to give their biotrophies migration rights rather than to not do so. Yeah, you want them to migrate, you want them to distribute. The AI is now able to create ecumenopolises. They didn't do that before. My goodness me. AI is now better able to budget for repairing the Shattered Ring world that Shattered Ring origin empires start with. The AI is now better able to budget for terraforming and will more readily terraform planets into classes which are ideal for them. Fix the AI sending small fleets to attack starbases without grouping up. Fix the AI trying to build starbase buildings and modules it wasn't allowed to be building in certain cases. Improve the AI weights for planet killer weapons so they will tend to pick the one that benefits them the most. This also applies to the player's auto-generated ship designs. The AI will now consider anti-crime campaigns a valid way of fighting crime, but it will also occasionally make deals with crime lords if it's the victim of a criminal syndicate. I also want to play a criminal syndicate one day. Fix an issue where AI empires would leave fleets behind in outer space after peace was concluded. Then we have modding. Modding is always the biggest thing. Okay, now modding is not the biggest thing, it's bug fixes. I've looked at that, but it's still pretty big, okay? Starbase components can now accept economic output modifiers in station modifier and system modifier. Added on-queued and on-unqueued in decisions and fixed the bug in abort effect. Also added an example sheet to show what all works. Abort effect and abort trigger were probably hidden features. Added use of lock commands in decision descriptions. Fixed set owner not working on juggernauts. In component templates, valid for country is now a trigger rather than a waits block, as it is how it acted. So if you used it, you will need to update that. Added on destroy planet with planet killer key, queued, unqueued on actions. Added species gender trigger, which checks what gender settings a species allows. Oh, you could gender change a species. Whoa, that could be a weapon. I don't know. Fixed a mod compatibility issue where has deposit would not predictably return false if referencing a non-existent deposit. Added a create nebula effect. Changed terraforming costs to use the post-megacorp economy system. Removed unused technology perimeter terraform cost change. Use regular cost modifiers instead. Removed energy perimeter from terraforming links. Use resources instead. Changed any planet army, count planet army, random planet army, and every planet army to no longer be restricted to armies owned by the planet owner. Use is owned by planet owner as a limit to achieve the same result as previously. Fix issues with inputting prev and from scopes in fire on action. Set name can now be used on first contact sites. Added custom tooltips database for galactic objects with triggers to be executed for every system. Added allowed planet classes to trait definitions for locking traits behind planet class selection and empire creation. Added show trigger to ship size empire limit to control when the limit is shown to the player. Added planet clear blocker and speed mult. Fixed set starbase building module to use slots starting with 1 rather than 0. This now matches both remove starbase building module effects and vanilla usage, but modders who compensated for this mismatch will need to adjust for the fix. Also improved error logging for these effects. Fixed missing names in tooltips for modifiers granted in triggered modifier sections of starbase building modules. Fixed starbases, only refreshing slots on the next day after you use the set level to set level, and directly followed by set starbase module would not work. Added ideal planet class to traits. It can be used for defining which planet class a habitability trait should apply to. The add trait effects tooltip now says what the trait does. Fix the no cases of several boolean triggers. Is bottleneck system, is idle, has war goal. Has valid AI personality, is site under excavation, is site completed. They previously counted no as yes. Added defines for the thresholds, controlling when to accept the longer path for reinforcements when the shortest path is not safe. Added reinforce MIA time mult and MIA time mult for controlling reinforcement and MIA times. Replace defined variable shipyard reinforce max distance with shipyard reinforce max jumps. Replace defined variable shipyard distance diff factor with shipyard reinforce distance mult. Remove defined variable shipyard max overcapacity. Added finish arc stage console command for finishing the stage of the archaeological on the selected planet. The possible trigger of a tradition category's adopt tradition will now print in the tooltip for adopting that category if it fails. Added the possibility to get the number of civics for an empire scope with civics count trigger. Added the possibility to remove a civic by index, for example, force remove civic is 2. Added on capital changed on action. Added on action on planet class changed. So much that I do not understand but still admire. Thank you, modders, for what you do. It's a good patch when the longest thing is about bug fixes. And so, bug fixes. My favorite thing, really. If you've played Stellaris for as long as I have, then bug fixes are what you value the most, probably. Because with so many changes that Stellaris always does, bug fixes are just extremely valuable because there will be bugs. The notification shown when upgrading a defense platform now only appears when all queued upgrades are complete. Thank God. That's an improvement. That's not a bug fix. It was not a bug, but it was hell of annoying, and it's good that it's now the way it is now. Fix the purchasing event of the Ministry of Culture, displaying the wrong job for machine empires. Nice. Change the atmospheric hallucinogen modifier to more accurately follow the flavor text. Surveying from the system map now queues orders correctly and displays the correct tooltips. Nice. Crisis diplomatic greetings now appear when talking to a crisis empire rather than when being one. Nice. Fixed the 3 extra dimensional crisis factions, occasionally getting reinforcements in each other's dimensional portals. Oh my god. Yeah, that was a mess. Devouring swarms no longer have access to the diplomacy tradition tree. Somehow makes sense, right? Fix the effects and shorten the duration of the pop output modifiers granted by the what separates us event. Fixed corporate galactic imperium not having access to catalytic processing and mastercraft incorporated. The Flesh is Weak special project no longer causes your species to lose their name list. Oh my goodness, yes, that's good. Cracking a non-colony planet no longer rewards menace. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Corporate and regular civics that share very similar effects have been made mutually exclusive. Good. Fixed it being possible to remove and add traits that shouldn't be possible to change via species modification. Fixed enlightened primitive lithoids getting farms instead of more mines. Yeah, that's... no words for that. It's good that it's better now. Ancient clone vats can now only assemble clone soldier pops. Infertile clone army pops will no longer be able to reproduce just because they are having a nice night out with the caravaneers. Yeah. Fixed nivlax sometimes not being radiotrophic for owners of plantoids. Sweet. The resolution right to work now no longer slows down organic pop assembly, which is good. Mastercraft Inc. now have access to their artificers on Aquinopolis. Shattered rings should no longer turn into spheres when the Great Tempest attempts to turn it into a nanite world. Good. Racket Industrial Enterprise will no longer say they will give you 4 pops and then only give you 3. They also realized that while trying to scam you, they were giving you a great deal, so they increased the cost of the pops. Catalytic and Mastercrafter habitats, colony designations should behave as expected. Citadel of Faith, Auto-Curating Vault and Vault of Acquisition are no longer gated behind the wrong planetary capital building. Ah, good. Good. Really good. Robots will no longer have 0 upkeep while living a decadent lifestyle. After the reanimators discovered that the Decino Consonance armies are made out of nanites, they politely stopped reanimating them. Made it so subjects can't join Federation if Federation law states that subjects cannot join. And that is how it works, right? Made it so that fleets in combat while a Star Eater destroys a system ends combat and goes missing in action. Fixed newly founded colony immigration pool accidentally capping out at 15 months after colonization rather than 15 years, now correctly set to 15 years or a population of 10 pops, whichever happens first. Nice. Fixed fleets now containing only 1 ship type and only 1 ship not being present in the fleet manager. Oh yeah. Science ship now considers hostile intel while planning an evasive route. This fixes a problem where science ships do not flee from hostile fleets. Yeah, I've had that. I've lost scientists. Rest in peace. Fixed reinforcements arriving at the shipyard if the target fleet was in combat when they fixed construction. Fixed reinforcement construction miscalculating with shipyards to use when reinforcements was being sent via bypasses. Good. Time taken for fleets to reinforce via fleet manager should now be the same as if reinforcing manually. Fix an issue in which during the year 2280 empty Marauder raid fleets could be created. What an odd thing. Clone army pops from other empires should now decline, even if their new owner has the clone army origin. These pops no longer reduce the main species assembly speed. Nice. Fix the bug preventing the event which allowed you to acquire relics of other empires when invading their capital. Good. You can no longer use your science ship to transport shard to a separate system. What? The Corporate Dominion Civic now unlocks the Trade League Federation type. Fixed missing in action time sometimes being longer than the estimated travel time between the point of origin and the destination system. It's good that this is precise now. Fixed an issue with the fleet manager where it was possible to create fleets larger than the allowed command limit. Yeah, and that was also annoying somehow. Fixed the assimilation process, overwriting or resetting species rights in certain circumstances. Fixed references to PC Shattered Ring Habitable Edge in certain first contact event chains. Fixed policies sometimes showing that they could not be changed until a date that was in the past. Fixed the terraforming button on planets sometimes being unavailable without a reason being stated, for example, pre-sapiens being present. Fixed it being possible to start the game using an invalid empire design by abusing confirmation prompts. Aha. Fixed attack animations spuriously triggering when ships enter into the camera view. Fixed clicking the falling intel alert opening the diplomacy tab instead of the intel tab. Fixed an issue where transport, Juggernaut and Colossus ship icons in the fleet view were displayed incorrectly. Fixed some habitat colony designations not using habitat icons. Fixed the displayed cost sometimes being inaccurate when attempting to apply a species modification. That helps a lot. Fixed an issue where flak batteries showed the small guns 3D model instead of the point defense 3D model. Good. Privateers will no longer be intimidated by exceedingly large fleets and will still spawn from the armed privateers operation. Good. Undead armies resurrected during battle will no longer sometimes disband a month later. Fixed cases where the insufficient ancient clone VATS modifier would apply while purging a completely different non-clone species. Fixed the bug where a species wouldn't ever grow on a planet with low habitability. Also fixed that nothing would grow if you locked growing only that species. Good, good. Ancient drones will no longer be removing deposits that have benefits. Ah, nice. Adding subterranean liaisons no longer uses a placeholder icon. Fixed an issue where call in favor and support text would overlap in the Federation Vote UI. Fixed Void Dweller starting on Sol getting a starting message mentioning a trinary star system. Fixed the description of alloy foundries when playing gestalts and catalytic processes. The Thought Enforcement Edict now correctly mentions the reduction in crime it provides. Updated Merchant Guilds tooltip to be more in line with similar civics. Updated the Remnant Origin tooltip to be more in line with similar origins. Updated the description in Bulwark of Harmony to be more machine intelligence friendly, nice. Updated the Contingency Core Relic tooltip to mention that it only works on machine pop assembly. Fixed that the Planetary FTL Inhibitor Technology tooltip incorrectly informed the player that a Stronghold would support an FTL inhibitor. Updated Machine Building Speed tooltips to mention that they only affect machines. Standardized the tooltips of different slavery types to be more clear about what they offer. Prosperous Unification now has a more fitting tooltip for gestalts. Fixed the broken macro in the Chinese tooltip for catalytic processes. Fixed the inconsistent translation of the description for Byzantine bureaucracy civic in French. Removed duplicate message in situation log tooltip for special project. Added missing square bracket in German string mod planet technician energy produces mult, which had caused the get technician plural macro to display in game. Shattered ring sprawling slum tooltips now match the regular planet ones. Fixed airborne ascension perk displaying an incorrect tooltip for hive minds. Fixed some Brazilian Portuguese grammatical errors. Fixed missing modifier names in certain interfaces from several colony designations and a few other places. Corrected mistranslation in Polish tradition strings. Clarified tooltip of civics that cannot be manually added or removed after game starts to specify that they cannot be added to. Fixed Imperial Armada fleet size text in the Galactic Imperium view not being localized. Fixed Broken First Contact tooltip localization refs. Fixed Poor tooltip for Caravaneer's local franchise event. Added Missing Effects tooltip for terraforming candidate planet modifier. Oh my goodness. It's a lot of goodness. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm also carefully optimistic as for the launch. I'm looking forward to play it. I'll share that with you together. So we'll have a Let's Play or streams. And I'll likely be starting with a Dragon Origin, of course. Dragon Origin aquatic species. And more details will be surprise. What are you looking forward to play? Do we have already a favorite portrait, maybe? Have a great time until next time, and happy gaming. This is Immanuel signing out. See you soon, and happy gaming.